Wait, what?
Uh, shh. We've been trying to contact you regarding your car.
They saw a 200-pound beast with a wrinkled face and golden fur, but while the shelter workers counted seconds to leave, this massive bullmastiff named Beetle was just waiting for a lap to call home. The story of Beetle didn't begin in a high-end breeder's kennel, though that's exactly where David and Sarah had initially planned to go. Their children, Leo and Mia, had been begging for a dog for months, dreaming of a furry companion. Just as they were browsing expensive listings, a neighbor mentioned the local shelter, a place desperately overcrowded. When the family arrived, the atmosphere was heavy and the air was thick with neglect. The worker showing them around didn't even look them in the eye, checking his watch every few seconds as if counting down to his freedom. Then they saw him. Tucked away in a corner was a massive 200-pound bullmastiff with deep wrinkles and a coat like golden wheat. The worker sighed with annoyance, tapping his clipboard. "He's just too big," the man said dismissively. "Probably too much for a family." But Leo and Mia were already mesmerized by those soulful eyes. Sensing that leaving him there was not an option, David grabbed the pen and signed the papers immediately to rescue the golden giant from that cold cage. If you're watching this and haven't subscribed yet, I have to say, I'm a little heartbroken. Stories like this need your support to reach more hearts. Hit that subscribe button right now. You won't regret joining our rescue family. Now, back to what happened when they brought this monster home. Beetle walked with a heavy, uncertain gait, his massive paws thumping against the pavement as he left the nightmare behind. He looked like a titan, but his spirit was flickering, waiting for a spark of true kindness. As they loaded him into the car, the suspension dipped under his immense weight, and for the first time, Beetle felt the cool breeze of a car window. Beetle just stared out the glass, his wrinkled face reflecting a world he thought he'd never see again, while the family held their breath, praying this giant would find his place in their small world. They knew the journey wouldn't be easy, but seeing him lean his heavy head against the car seat made every doubt disappear. When they finally arrived home, the reality of bringing a 200-pound bullmastiff into a suburban living room set in. Beetle didn't explore the house. Instead, he walked straight to the side of the large family sofa and sat down, his wrinkled face looking up at them with an expression they couldn't quite read. Suddenly, he let out a series of deep, booming huffs that sounded almost like barking. The family froze, unsure if this was a sign of aggression. Sarah pulled the kids back slightly, and David felt a surge of doubt, wondering if the shelter worker had been right about him being too much. David decided to sit on the sofa to reach for his phone, intending to call for advice. But the moment David's weight hit the cushion, Beetle didn't lunge or snap. Instead, he heaved his entire 200-pound frame directly onto David's lap. The air left David's lungs in a sudden gasp as a mountain of golden fur crushed him into the upholstery. Beetle wasn't trying to be dominant. He was burrowing his massive head into David's chest, whining softly as he demanded to be petted. The family burst into laughter as they realized the truth. This wasn't a guard dog, but the world's largest lapdog. Beetle began moving from person to person, practically climbing over Sarah and the children, leaning his full weight against them until they had no choice but to wrap their arms around his thick neck. He was a seeker of affection, a creature who had spent his life being told he was too big to be held, now finally finding people who didn't mind the weight. Every time they stopped scratching behind his folded ears, he would nudge their hands with his wet nose, insisting that the love continue. He was desperate for the touch he had been denied in that cold cage, proving that no matter how big the body, the heart inside was that of a needy, loving puppy who just wanted to belong. The house was no longer just a building. With Beetle's massive presence, it finally felt like a home filled with a beautiful kind of chaos. As the sun set on their first day together, the family began to wonder about the name Beetle. It seemed like an odd choice for such a majestic animal, and they debated changing it to something more fitting. However, as the house grew quiet and everyone retreated to their rooms, the mystery was solved in a way none of them would ever forget. David and Sarah were just falling asleep when a low, mechanical-sounding rumble began to vibrate through the floorboards. It started as a rhythmic chugging, like an old engine struggling to turn over, and grew into a full-blown roar that echoed through the hallways. They rushed to the living room, thinking a vehicle had crashed into their yard, only to find Beetle sprawled out on his back, paws in the air, sound asleep. The noise coming from his wrinkled snout was incredible, a deep, sputtering pat-pat-pat sound that mimicked the iconic exhaust note of an old vintage Volkswagen Beetle engine. It wasn't just a snore, it was a mechanical symphony of comfort. The entire family gathered in the hallway, watching the 200-pound dog vibrate with every breath. Beetle was snoring with such passion that the windows seemed to rattle in their frames. They realized then that he had likely never felt safe enough to fall into such a deep sleep until that very night. While the rest of the house stayed awake, bleary-eyed and clutching pillows, Beetle was having the best night of his life, finally letting his guard down in a place where he was truly wanted. The name Beetle wasn't just a label, it was a description of the joyful noise of a dog who was finally at peace. By morning, the family was exhausted, but as they looked at the big golden dog waiting by his bowl with a wagging tail and a wrinkled smile, they knew they wouldn't change a thing. They hadn't just adopted a pet, they had rescued a 200-pound engine of pure love that would keep them awake and keep their hearts full for years to come. Beetle was home, and his loud, sputtering snores were now the favorite soundtrack of their lives. If this story touched your heart and you're still not subscribed, please don't wait any longer. Hit that subscribe button right now. What would you do if you found out your pet had been misunderstood their whole life? Tell me in the comments below. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. It helps more people find these incredible stories. Every like and comment helps us rescue more souls like Beetle, turning their silence into a symphony of belonging.